Hello and welcome back. This is episode 9 of the Crick House. We cannot believe it. Episode 9, obviously not counting our 3-minute testimony series. Episode 9 of the Crick House. So if you have been joining us for the last a little series that we've been doing called the blog posts, we have been walking through our personal family blog, which documents our lives in ministry and all the highs and lows and the crazy stories since the beginning of 2019. And we are about to come up to a story that we have hinted at for a very, very long time. We might have referred to it as the bus or Big Yellow. You're about to hear what that actually is and what that is all about, and that's going to take us a couple of weeks to go through. So you're in for one massive ride, and if you have already heard about this story before, you are still in for one massive ride. And a really exciting thing that we've got in the works right now is we're actually creating a documentary film about this. So it's going to be about a 45-minute, half-an-hour documentary coming out in the coming months, with original videos, clips and photos from this time in our life as a family. So as you listen to the coming weeks and episodes of this story, you will understand how exciting that documentary is going to be. So keep an eye out on our YouTube channels. But without further ado, let's have a big hello from everybody at the dining table. And today we do have a full quota. We have everybody here.
You've missed me, I know you have.
And the 3 dogs.
And the 3 dogs are here,
Flynn's
absolutely.
trying to get past your chair, Gary.
Flint is trying to get past the chair.
Your squeaky chair.
Oh, hello, Pep's joined us.
And Pip is now at the table. Flynn wants to get past the squeaky chair into the kitchen, so we'll just let him do that.
Welcome to a very organic time
dog, he's
at
just
the at the dining table. So, episode 9, Mother,
Okay.
what's it about?
So it starts off in May 2019 when we had it's a little bit before then. May 2019 is when Big Yellow actually came across from America
That's right.
on what did she come across on?
Right?
A raft.
Freight ship.
A freight ship, a raft. Yeah, she was airlifted
Can you
here.
imagine the Google Earth picture you could get with a freight ship with Big Yellow on it?
So when we're talking about Big Yellow, we're talking about a American school bus. Yes, the ones that you see in the films
A real one.
where the young people and children get on this bus and go to school. And we had a crazy idea at some point in...
Well, hang on. Let's backtrack.
The idea originated-
we? Is that a...
No. We all had an idea that we needed a vehicle
Okay.
large enough to travel the ministry, as in the props, the staging, the costumes, anything like that, and our family, and enable us to be able to sleep in it overnight or whoever we took with us, so that we wouldn't have lots of costs with overnight accommodation, correct?
And the first idea we had was a library bus or a double deck, a British bus, a bus you could already get in the UK.
All good ideas.
All brilliant ideas, and then we made the mistake of letting Mum. Well, not the mistake. It's really.
It's not true.
It's not.
This is
And
not
then
true.
Mum went loose on eBay,
She did.
and
Yeah, but when
she
we-
saw.
No, I didn't see anything. You
Well,
see,
I'm
this
saying
is
that
wrong.
with Mummy here 'cause
This
you're
is
wrong.
wrong. We didn't see anything. I saw a black double-decker bus,
That's right.
And then
which
she
was
saw-
converted. I didn't see anything. This is not the truth. We went down. That's the cake. Do you please want to go in the kitchen and turn the oven off? We went down to a place just outside Guildford called Shred
I
and
get some
Butter. No, called Shred and Butter. If you don't know what I'm talking about, which you probably don't, but if you don't know them,
Jim's
look
Yard.
them up. They are an amazing company that make amazing conversions on buses and strange vehicles. So we went along to see this black double-decker bus. Now, Jim, the owner of this yard and Shred and Butter, he took us across to see this black double-decker bus, and we walked in, and he'd just done it amazingly. Wood, and it was just stylish inside. But behind this big black double-decker bus was a big fat yellow banana.
Yes, there was.
There was always a little red one. A little red one.
And his red American school bus.
It was Big Red, wasn't it?
And Gary and I went, oh my word, that is so cool. And he said, come and have a look. And that was it. We were kind of sold that we didn't actually need a black double-decker bus. We needed...
An American school
A
bus.
big yellow American school bus.
And then for the next 4 or 5 months, I think our household spent most evenings looking at YouTube clips about how to do a yellow American school bus conversion.
Yes, we did.
We thought the space in this thing was fantastic. How big was the one that we looked at, Gary? Or how big is the one we got?
Well, the one we've got's about 28 foot long.
Okay, what's that in meters? 9 meters? About 9 meters by 3 meters, I think. Anyway, long story, but we decided we'd go on a fundraiser for Big Yellow. And the idea was that Big Yellow would become this missions vehicle, but also have the opportunity and ability to have a cinema screen put on the outside so that she could go to events and do outdoor cinema, because as a family we'd been doing some cinema into the community of some of the good films like Courageous, Fireproof,
Facing the Giants,
all of those
Flywheel.
ones by the Kendrick brothers, and we've been doing them in our community. So the idea was she would be multi-purpose, and so we went on a big fundraiser to try and raise money to buy a Big Yellow. And we spoke to a company in America who had, they take all of them out of service and then they sell them on, and they were very good to us and gave us a good price for a good vehicle, an International Bluebird. And we went on this fundraiser and we eventually made the target, right?
Yes, we did, yeah.
So May 2019, I have put in our blog, a sailor went to sea to see what he could see, but he didn't expect to see a big American school bus.
Oh, you should have written, but he didn't expect to see a big American schoolie.
Oh,
It would have
well,
rhymed
yeah,
better.
well, there you go.
A school is a nickname for school buses that are being converted. That's called schoolies.
We have purchased some camera gear so we can document our bus build and then our adventures in the bus.
I've just remembered what we've managed to label as camera gear.
Okay.
A DJI Osmo Mobile 2.
Well,
And for
there you
anyone
go.
with any tech savvy, that's not really camera gear. But
And
there it was. There we go.
I
But-
put here, it's exhilarating. One encounter is never the same as the next. God does new things daily in our lives and others, and new exciting projects begin. To think that if you had called us missionaries a couple of years ago, we may have chuckled at the thought, but now it's real. We are a missionary family. 2019 so far has been great. It's had its downers, but the good God has done far above ever what we could ask, think, or imagine.
Absolutely.
So we had this Big Yellow school bus come across in 2019. And if we flick through a few more blogs of just different ministry trips and things like that, we have here in June 2019 that we got to meet Big Yellow for the
Yes.
first time.
Yes, we did, because at the end of May, we went to Big Christian Conference. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago.
Grace and Faith.
Grace and Faith, absolutely.
Or Graze and Faith.
it arrived whilst we were there, didn't it?
It did arrive. It arrived in Southampton while we were there, and we were really disappointed we couldn't go down to the docks to see her.
That's right, because we wanted to bring it to the conference with us, didn't we?
We did.
And something we've forgotten to do, just before we continue on. So hold that thought, everybody, about meeting the bus for the first time. We forgot to give Oscar his word for the
Ooh.
song. So, Oscar, your word has come from a listener called Tilda. Okay, you know her. She has given you the word chicken.
No, platypus.
Platypus. She's given you the word platypus.
It was both.
It was both. So,
So
a
which one are you
platypus
choosing?
chicken.
He
Oh, yeah, I'll pick platypus.
Okay.
Platypus.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Right,
Oscar.
there we go. Oscar will sing us a song about a platypus at the end of this. But back to it. The first time we met Big Yellow was after Grace and Faith.
First time we met Big Yellow, she was in Jim's yard,
She.
and we came across to see her, and Jim said to us, I cannot believe this. It looks as though it has just come out of the paint shop.
Jim was jealous.
Jealous Jim.
No, Jim gets lots of buses for lots of different people, and seriously, this bus looked like somebody had spent the whole entire time of it coming over from the US polishing its bonnet, right?
It was gleaming.
It was just so... I'm looking at the photograph in our blog now, and she really is looking like somebody's waxed her.
Absolutely.
Big yellow.
Big yellow.
Not big orange.
Well, I think the picture's not doing her justice, actually. Anyway, she came across, and Jim was just amazed at the enormity of the quality of this vehicle. But at this present time in Manor, we were doing an anti-bullying project with an anti-bullying musical, and we went to see this bus, and we walked down the side of the bus. And if you like, the kiss from God was the fact that in the window of the bus was a big hexagonal sticker that said,
Bullying stops here.
and we just all
Margaret.
absolutely laughed in the window as we saw this. One of the young people from the ministry, seeing the sticker there, said, "Oh, I thought you put it there." I returned with, "No, but Jesus did." We felt really overwhelmed and grateful to God for his goodness and love, and his tender and confirming hand that shows his plans are precious and purposed before we even knew it. All we had to do was be willing and obedient. And I think the other thing which really struck us was as soon as we had this big yellow bus in the yard, God started to bring back some words that had been spoken over us 3 years ago. Now,
That's right, yes.
we partnered with Heidi Baker, fantastic ministry for a very long time, and you guys wrote a song for her, Iris
Yes, we did,
Ministries.
we did.
And as a ministry, we would partner with her. And we went to see Heidi in Bath with our dear friends Lilette and Melody and Eliana. And it was the day before my birthday, I remember.
It was the day before
Being
your
in the
birthday,
car
yes.
because we were coming home late and it turned midnight and they all started singing happy birthday to me at the garage. I remember that.
Uh-huh.
A long drive home, I remember that one.
We went to see Heidi in Bath at a meeting, and afterwards, true Heidi Baker fashion, she took us back to the side of the stage in a little corridor and she said, let's sit. And we sat on the floor, cross-legged, no airs and graces, no big chairs needed, no conference tables. There she was, having just ministered to hundreds of people in Bath, sitting on the floor, leaning back
Yep.
against the wall, in the dirt, as she normally is, down with the people. And we were sitting there opposite her. And she gave us lots of prophetic words and lots of things God was saying to her. But one of the things that she said, which suddenly came back to us as we saw Big Yellow, she said, people will stop at traffic lights and see you and say, there goes the miracle family.
Absolutely.
Now, we'd never really understood what that meant. Why would people stop at traffic lights and recognise us? Because we certainly weren't going to be that famous that people would recognise our family through a car window.
No.
But we just suddenly dawned on us that if we're stuck in a big yellow American banana at a traffic light and that bus is linked.
It's not subtle.
It's
No.
bastard with mad stuff, isn't it? as
That
well?
bus is linked to the ministry and the ministry has miracles popping,
Amen.
then they are going to stop and stare and say, there goes the miracle family.
Amen.
Absolutely. And people tend to not stop. They're driving past with their phones out the window, trying to get a selfie as they're driving past, particularly on the motorway. You see them trying to do it sneakily. They don't want to be seen, and yet you see this hand come out of the window with a phone, hold it up, turn it towards us, and then it slip back in again quietly and the car will just speed off.
I remember the first day that we went down with a couple of our dear friends, Loxley and Paulette, and I've got a picture here that I'm looking at of all of us putting our hands on the bonnet. And just as, people are commissioned into the ministry and sent forth to do missions trips or, ordained and things like this, we laid hands on this vehicle that we knew God had given us, and we commissioned this bus to be used by God for whatever he needed it to be used for.
Little did we know.
Little did we know.
1 year later. But we'll get to that another time.
Little did we know that this bus was about to be used by God in a massive, massive way. And so for June and July, do you remember, guys, we
I remember.
ripped out
I have some photos from those days.
seats. And what did you and Josh do?
We did many things. My friend, hang on, let me tell you. My friend Josh, I call him my fourth brother because we grew up together and he is practically like another brother to me. But he and his dad helped us rip out the seats in the bus and clean it all up and renovate the inside and stuff. But we did big yellow chair surfing, whereas we would clean the top of the inside of the bus, so like the white roof on the inside, while surfing along the seats. And we found a Spanish dime, an American nickel, a bunch of chewing gum.
I hope you didn't need to.
No, that's disgusting. But I've still got the coins. I've still got the coins from the original rip out of Big Yellow.
I remember it being one of the most ridiculously hot days that we've ever had in Surrey. And we were baking. And Michael was there. Helping as well.
Yeah, Jackie's husband.
Yeah,
Jackie's
Matt.
husband, Matt, was
Matt.
there. Some of our lovely Surrey
Dwayne.
friends.
Dwayne was there.
Which is Josh's dad.
Yeah.
Andrew,
Abigail.
Tim, John.
Yeah.
Abigail.
that's
Oh my
right.
goodness, we had quite a bunch of people helping us.
It was like 31, 32 Celsius.
It was.
But that's outside. When you are in a tin can full of glass windows with a generator outside, power tools such as angle grinders and sanders and drills, inside this metal tube, it's not only 32 Celsius, but the humidity is ridiculous.
It was incredibly hot. I remember at the end of the day, Dwayne taking us away and saying, come on, guys, because I had Eli then, who would have been, I can't even calculate how old we would have been then, 6.
Oh,
maybe just 6.
maybe,
No, 5 or 6, coming up 6.
Yeah, five.
And you were sweating like a little piglet, and he took us back to his house, and he and Lynn looked after us. I remember we slept the night. We had a beautiful cooked breakfast in the morning in
Oh,
the
it was
sunshine.
amazing.
Do you remember?
I stayed up till midnight playing pool in the garden house.
We
So
did.
I actually have on my camera roll a photo of the bacon and egg roll
You do.
that was made for me that morning.
You do.
I do, and I still have that photo.
I remember having a conversation with Josh about how many Weetabixes he has
Like
or
12,
had.
isn't it?
Oh, it was like 12 in the morning. I don't think he still does it because he's tall enough. But I think he had like 12 to 14 every morning.
That was just another example. A few weeks ago, we were talking about practical love and
Yes.
just supporting each other. And although this wasn't, their bus, their children were all involved in Manor at the time, but they were true friends, true family, and Jesus still are. That are, were just prepared to get down and help, and be very practically loving to help a mission get off the ground.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about that a few weeks ago. I mean, how many other crazy things can we think of as we're talking now that people in the past that we've known, or people from the Word that have been asked by God to do things that on the face of it looked a bit crazy, looked a bit weird, and yet they obeyed God, and what importance that obedience led to.
So we have an amazing friend called Rachel, and she came to our house, do you remember? And she dropped off some groceries and toilet roll. You're going to have to remind me of the story.
Yeah. So in Nuneaton, when we were living in Nuneaton, we had a shopping delivery come on, I think it was the first day we'd moved in, or maybe the next week when we moved in to this rented house, and the shopping was quite sporadic and we were getting used to the area.
This was just after COVID had ended
Yeah,
as well,
it was.
wasn't it?
So there were still lots of things that were missing from shopping sort of deliveries.
That's
and
right.
there were several items. I think toilet rolls were one, some pasta was another,
Yes.
some gluten-free pasta was another, and then just something else. I can't remember what it was. I have a photo. somewhere.
Flour.
Possibly. Anyway, Rachel turned up on our doorstep and she just gave us a bag and she said, I don't know what it was. She was kind of leaving house this morning, and I felt God say I needed to go and buy the Crick's toilet rolls. And she said, how embarrassing is that going to be, just turning up on their doorstep and saying, sorry, I don't know why God asked me to buy you toilet rolls. But little did she know that just a few days before, our shopping delivery hadn't got any and we couldn't find any.
So just for the viewers' clarification, you've just said that the shopping has come a couple of days before Rachel came, and they hadn't brought any toilet roll.
You want me to clarify what
did we
used?
do for those
Twigs
couple
and
of days,
leaves,
Mum,
darling,
when we
twigs and
didn't
leaves.
have toilet roll?
Big one.
No, we used baby wipes, anything that was cotton, anything that was throwaway.
Okay, no, that's enough. Okay. Actually, another time with the same Rachel.
More toilet roll.
No.
Oh.
This Rachel's like an amazing artist. She did a lot of the stuff on the side of our bus and stuff. But I always found this was like really amazing because when still after Nuneaton, wasn't too long after this. So I do watercolors and painting, and I had recently been saying to Mum, "Oh, I need to like get one of those like lap easels or something so I can do it easily when traveling and stuff." Not even a week after I'd said that, just to Mum, no one else, just to Mum, ends up. And bearing in mind, only Mum's heard me say that I wanted to start doing this or trying this. Rachel turns up with a bunch of art stuff because they're moving house and then she's having a clearing out, and she comes with these like 2 big plastic boxes full of art supplies, and on the very top she actually had been to like a car boots and she'd found this there and she'd brought it along with her to see if we could use it, was a lap easel.
Yep.
Not a week after I'd said to Mum, like, I really want to start trying one of these for travelling, Rachel turns up with one.
I think it's those little things, when God tells you to do something or you feel impressed to do something and you think, this is strange, toilet rolls, a lap easel, this is a strange request, and it's the obedience. There is that scripture that says, be willing and obedient and you will eat the good fruit of the land. So, it's not just being willing for God to use us, but when he does or asks us to do things, being obedient no matter how crazy or weird that might seem, like us buying a big American school bus. I mean, we could have bought any vehicle. Where is the scripture, Ari?
Huh?
Willing and obedient.
Oh, I was looking at a different one.
Oh, okay. And also thinking about the stories of the Bible, where can we think of places where God asked people to do things that was crazy on the face of it, looked crazy? I can think of one.
Walking on the water would
Yeah,
be one.
asking Peter.
Oh, no, that's true. Yeah,
Asking
that's
Peter
right.
to come.
That's right.
Have you found the scripture, Aaron?
So the verse I just flashed at you, it turns out was the same verse you'd quoted, just in a different translation.
Okay, what is that verse?
This one's in the NLT. If you will only obey me, you will have plenty to eat.
I like
That's
Yeah.
in the NLT. That's
What about in the
Isaiah.
NKJV?
The NKJ. Where's the NKJV now? You know when you have all those different versions or new versions, suddenly you're scrolling.
There's also the obvious one in the Old Testament
KJV.
when God asked Noah to build an ark when there hadn't been rain.
Yeah, that was really hard for me to do, actually.
Oh, here we go. This is exactly the one Mom quoted. If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. NLT Isaiah 1:19.
Okay, so it's not just about being willing, it's about being obedient. We can say to God, yes, God, use me. Yes, God, I'm willing. Yes, God, bring people around my path today. God, Holy Spirit, remind me of people that I need to talk to, I need to bless. Tell me what I need to do with this month's check and everything else. But what are you going to do when God comes knocking on your heart and says, okay, 50% of your check this month I want you to give to the so-and-so family down the road, or 50%
absolutely.
of what I have just given you with your big inheritance I want you to give away.
Can you imagine if God told Noah to build an ark and he sat there for however many years he lived and was willing?
But
He's
not
fulfilled
obedient.
half the commandment, but not obedient.
Yeah.
He would have died in the flood too. Doesn't matter how willing you are,
You have to be obedient.
you have to be obedient too.
Absolutely right.
But also, to flip that around, you can be obedient and not willing,
Mm.
which is another thing, isn't it?
Well,
And
it's a
to
heart
be,
attitude.
yeah, exactly, it's a heart attitude. To be willing, but not obedient, and then to be obedient, but not willing. You know, it says in the Bible that God loves a cheerful giver. You know, so if you are obedient but have a stinking attitude, you're only fulfilling half the commandment, because He wants you to be willing as well. You know, he wants you to find pleasure, you know, in doing the things that He asks you to do.
And they might not be as dramatic as building an ark, prayerfully not. They may be as simple as go to the shop and get some toilet rolls. They may be as simple as that £10 that you thought you had in your wallet for something, you know, give that away. You know, it's just being open and yielded to the Holy Spirit, and in that point being willing and obedient, because when we are willing and obedient, sometimes we don't know why at the moment. You know, at that moment, did Noah know why he was building an ark? Did he know why everyone was mocking him? Or he knew that he had a word from God? Did we know why God asked us to buy Big Yellow at that moment? Why it felt so impressed on our hearts to do that? Well, no, at that moment, we didn't. And we brought Big Yellow back, and eventually we brought her up to the West Midlands where we were now based. And it was crazy because this park cottage that Noah didn't want to get out the car to see.
If you haven't heard that, you need to listen to an earlier episode. I think it's called Moving North.
Okay, we didn't know at the time when we said yes to Park Cottage that we actually would make friends with the gentleman opposite in the area we were in. And he had a yard right next to his house that was empty. And this yard was ample room for us to store Big Yellow in, and he was kind enough to let us put our big American school bus in it.
Yes.
So God had already gone ahead and provided that, and we didn't know. Our obedience to come north to that house was actually lined up with a plan for Big Yellow, which was crazy. But anyway, the biggest thing that we can say looking back now, why God said buy Big Yellow and buy her now, is this. We had this Big Yellow school bus outside our house, and we were renting a house. And then one thing or another happened, and unfortunately we lost the house, and due to some mice infestation, which wasn't very nice.
Nope.
And at that moment we didn't have anywhere else to go, and this Big Yellow bus was at the end of our driveway. So we were sleeping in this bus on some beds that Gary had built with some wood and stuff to make some bunks, and we had a basic double and some bunk beds. And it was kind of like a means to an end for a little while, and we managed to secure another house, which was only supposed to be a short-term thing.
Yeah.
And we were in this house in the West Midlands, and unfortunately the house had some other problems,
Oh,
and
my
we needed
word.
to move out of that house. And we didn't realize that at that time the word that God had started to speak to me about was to make a sound. And I said to God, why do I need to make a sound? We do theatre, you know, we perform, people can see, what have you. and yet this word just kept coming, make a sound. So I was like, okay, I wrote it down. And I believe that we were supposed to start doing audio dramas and things like that. And you can see them on YouTube.
Yes, you can.
However, little did we know that when we had to leave this house, Gary said to us, let's just get into Big Yellow. She was a work in progress, right? She
Yes,
had a
she
couple of
was.
bunk beds. She had a small kitchenette put in by Wren Kitchens. And then she had some travel seats.
That's right.
And we thought, or you thought,
Yeah.
we would get in this bus, put our stuff into storage, and we would be on a campsite for a couple of weeks while we found another rented house in the West Midlands. But then an announcement came across the TV which said,
No chance.
I can't do the impression. Oscar can.
Oscar, we need
get-
an impression.
Oh, is this the,
We need an
Get
impression.
in on the
What
mic.
happened? What happened on Mother's Day
Oh.
when we were in our van?
Do we have
What-
to
was
remember
it
that?
Mother's Day?
We were in our bus.
Oh my gosh.
On Mother's Day, and they were closing the campsites because we were in a what?
What was it again?
A
Oh yes, a pandemic.
we were in a.
A pandemic lockdown. That sounded more like James.
That was more James May than Boris
I
Johnson.
got the wrong accent now. Hold on.
I think we should do a Boris Johnson accent.
Dude,
Yes.
Yes.
give
come
us
on,
your Boris
an
Johnson.
I need to get it back now. Okay. Yes. We are going to have to go to a full country lockdown. Yes.
Yes, we did.
There we go.
We did. We had to go to a full country lockdown.
And fun fact, this Sunday is Mother's Day. So it's been 3 years since COVID. Woo!
And they said, this campsite that we were staying on, we are really sorry. We're closing the site. Everybody has to leave. So we will tell you much more of this. But for the next year, that big yellow banana bus became our home.
It certainly did.
As 6 and 2 dogs, as God positioned us in places all around the south of England, in different areas, helping, supporting, being looked after, learning to live in a bus with, at the time, had no running water.
Yes, no running water. Do you remember for the first few weeks that we were in the bus what our bathtub was?
No, I don't want to remember.
Do you want to remember? So this is between the two houses. So this is when we were living in the bus because of the house got infested with mice and there were some allergies and stuff, and we just had to get out. You know, we
It was about
didn't have
2 week
time
period,
to
what,
stay.
2-3 week period. I
Yeah,
think.
we didn't have time to stay in the house because of all the allergies and the health problems it was causing. So we had to jump in the bus, didn't
we
we?
camped.
As an emergency. Yeah, we camped in the bus. But what was the bathtub in the bus? Would you like to tell me?
No.
I can tell you.
It was a big
I can tell you where we
B&Q
bought it.
big B&Q storage tub that was
Plastic.
the
Yeah.
biggest one that they had.
The best thing about
I
it though
remember
was
now.
the best thing they had, the biggest one they had. Guess what it was? It wasn't black, ladies and gentlemen.
It
It
was
wasn't blue.
see-through.
It was see-through.
Skinny dipping in the bus.
So we had to make sure all the gentlemen were down one end of the bus.
Not out the bus, we kicked them out.
And we,
Or they waited in the car while the ladies.
We
it,
did.
it,
we
it,
did.
it was like the holies of holies in the temple, wasn't it? Because you had the one section of the bus that you could sit in safely, but then if you looked down to your right hand of the bus,
And past
there was
the
this big
coast.
veil that would appear across the side of across the bridge of the bus, as it were. You know, and you couldn't see through it, obviously, but you knew behind that veil was someone in a B&Q,
In a B&Q tub.
see-through tub. It would have been like watching a fish in an aquarium.
Yeah, and also you have to remember that when we filled it up, because the water had just come out of a big urn, one of those church urns,
It was hot.
you literally you poured the water in, and the steam turned it into a sauna bath,
Yes,
a
well, it was
Turkish sauna bath. You couldn't see for the steam,
Oh my gosh.
and it was just this tiny little tub,
It was only like a couple inches deep.
and you could get stuck.
Oh my gosh, no, we don't even
Won't
want to
go
go
there,
there.
no.
No.
And our family's very tall. So it's all sitting in
Okay,
the
so
All right, so no more images going around the room, thank you.
Let's
yes, so let's
calm down.
move
What's
on.
the spiritual application?
The spiritual application is be obedient when God tells you to do something, even if it's crazy, like buying a big American school
Yes.
bus, because you might end up having to live in it with a
Yes.
B&Q tub and a sauna
Yes.
and a Swedish sauna going on.
Yes, yes. You know, God knew we'd need it, didn't he?
God
He knew what
knew,
was coming.
yeah.
Nobody knew COVID was coming.
He did.
Oh, he knew.
Yeah,
He
he
knew.
knew.
He
We
absolutely
didn't.
knew.
God knew the flood was coming. He told him to build an ark. God knew that COVID was coming.
Told
and
us to buy a bus.
We needed a bus. Unfortunately, we didn't make it quite as well as Noah. We should have put places for the dogs to actually be and keep
Yeah.
safe.
We definitely had some animals on
We
board.
have 3 dogs at that time, isn't it?
Well, 2 is enough. I can remember a time when in the bus, both dogs got gastroenteritis on my birthday.
They vomited all over my bed.
Oh my goodness. Some of the things we can tell you about my life, just, you know.
Remember when Flynn had an ear infection?
He did, and this dog had to wear a cone, and bearing in mind the bus was only 3 meters wide, and you had this aisle down the middle, it would be just like scrape.
His head,
Easier as well.
his
It's
head barely
everywhere.
fit through the doorway.
Oh, it was, and
It was brilliant.
it was not brilliant.
Where is he?
So,
at the time.
in all seriousness,
So in all seriousness,
before we wrap up everything,
be willing and obedient, because you never know when you're going to need a bus.
Absolutely. Anyone got any more scriptures to go with that? Being willing and obedient, or anything on the heart?
Oh,
I read, I was trying to find this a moment ago, 1 Kings 17, it talks about Elijah. And here we go. The Lord said to Elijah, "Get away from here, turn to the east, and go hide by the brook Cherith, which flows into the Jordan. And it will be there that you should drink from the brook, for I have commanded the ravens to feed you."
And it says, so he went and did according to the word of the Lord, for he went and stayed by the brook Cherith, which flows into the Jordan, and the ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the brook.
Is that like fast food?
No,
No.
it's not like fast food. That's more like Deliveroo because they brought it to him.
Right. They were ravens, not eagles. It wouldn't have been that quick.
But thinking about that, yeah, where was Elijah's provision? It was where God told him to go.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So if you're
Over there,
facing
wasn't
a decision right now, you know, of any form, and you're going, God, where's the provision? Where's the provision for this? Maybe, and obviously you take this back to your own prayer time and your own discussions with the Lord, but maybe He wants you to step out, and your provision will be in that place called there, where He is sending you. You know, so
It might not
just
be a
a thought.
location. It could be a job
It could
change.
be a job change, yeah.
It could be a location change within your own town, or it may be that God says you need to go here or you need to go there, and God knows that that is where everything that you need, your friendships, your provision, your financial provision,
Absolutely.
your peace, your joy, whatever it is, you know, God knows that it's going to be there.
I remember a personal testimony for me about obedience was I was sat in my second year of Bible college, and it was the final day of second year, and they had a special offering going around, and I can remember underneath me I was sitting on my wallet, and in my wallet I had a £10 note which was going towards my driving lessons at the time, and God spoke to me and He said, "Sow that £10. And I said, "No, I can't do that, God, it's for my driving lesson." And everyone knows the best thing to do is argue with God, isn't it? But anyway, it wouldn't let up, so I went and sowed this £10 note. And the day went on, we had lunch, etc., 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 etc. And then someone who I'd never spoken to before at the college came and sat next to me and said, "Noah, tell me what brought you here." And I told him about my testimony of coming to Caris and what that looked like and how everything was happening. And he said, "The Lord has asked me to pay for your first month's term of your third year in Caris." Which was amazing, because that happened just a couple of hours after I was obedient and sowed that £10. And I truly believe, had I not sown that £10, that provision may not have been there for that first month. You know, so it was an amazing testimony, and
very
sticks out.
female.
It was incredibly female for the
Sorry.
sneeze. I mean, it came from a female, so you know, but
It was a
I can
very
just-
theatre sneeze, wasn't it?
I can just say, just on the back of what Noah's just said about the £10, it was this week that we went to church, and I felt impressed to put £10 in the offering as it went past, over and above our normal tithing and stuff. Just put in the £10, and I was arguing because in my heart I was thinking, if I do that, then I won't have enough money left to buy lunch for everybody on the way home, because I knew we were going to be late. But I was obedient, and I put it in. And more importantly, I was willing and obedient and put it in. And no sooner had the service finished, someone walked up to me and put £20 in my hand, replaced what I'd given in an offering, and made it more than enough to buy lunch for everyone. on the way back.
doubled. Your seed doubled, didn't it?
Well, we've come to the end of our podcast now,
We
so
have.
reminder to do what God asks you to do, no matter how big,
Absolutely.
from a big yellow bus to how
Yes.
small,
Either.
from a toilet roll
Absolutely.
to a £10.
Absolutely. In
Do
fact,
what the Lord's asked you to do.
you know, it was impressed upon Oscar's heart, or was it your heart? It was one of you two, might have been both of you. Just recently, someone was going through a tough time, and the Lord impressed on her heart just to bake them a cake. Not buy a bus, bake them a cake. And it changed their whole day, their whole week, the whole situation for them.
Yeah.
You know, it was such a blessing to them. But anyway, So there you have it.
And Oscar, we've got to end
yes.
with you
Yes, we
with
have.
the song about the platypus. Okay, Tilda, this one's for you.
All right. Okay.
Here we go.
So, the funny thing about this actually is that you don't really get a chance to practice it, so you just have to jump on and do it. So,
That's the idea.
here we go. Let's have a listen then. In Australia there's a carnivore. He can swim in the water and walk on the shore. With a tail like a beaver and a duck like a bill. He's a really fun mammal, and there's more still. He can scoop up his food from the bottom of the ground, and since he got no teeth, he stores the food he's found in his big pouch cheeks like a hamster on a wheel, and then he chows it down on his insect meal. Oh, duck-billed platypus, duck-billed platypus, pot duck, pot otter, and pot beaver. What an incredibly awesome creature!
Well, hey, there we go.
you
The
go.
Platypus song by Oscar. What a treat for you all. Gosh. Well, there we have it. Episode 9 of the Crick House. Being willing and obedient, and you got to hear the start of the journey for Big Yellow. So buckle down, because the next few weeks of stories on that are going to be incredible.
We still have her.
Yeah, we do still have her. She's still with us.
Yes,
Um,
how many years old?
She's 4 years old now with us. She's
No,
4 years
four.
old with us, but she's a 2003 bus. But anyway, you'll find out all about that in the upcoming documentary and in the weeks that go by. But thank you so much for listening. Honestly, we are so grateful that you are here. Ariel was looking at me like she's won the lottery, so I'm going to let her take the microphone for a second.
You just said Big Yellow was like made in 2003, yeah?
Yeah.
Big Yellow and I share the same birthday!
Oh my
We're
goodness.
20!
So, if you are still coping, please subscribe, leave us a review. We may even read it here. You know, we just love having you with us and just having this community around us, getting to hear about 10 years in ministry, and as we just share what the Lord has put on our heart as
And
well.
Ariel has a sister.
And Ariel has a sister.
Finally, thank you, God!
So,
Big
it's,
Yellow the bus.
yes, it's incredible. So thank you again so much for listening. We will see you again next time for our 10th episode. I mean,
We'll have to
woohoo.
do something to celebrate.
Yeah, we'll have to
that.
do something to celebrate.
The next song. Do-do-do-do-do.
I think we should hear from Pip.
You think we should hear from Pip the dog?
Yeah.
Right, hang on, let me get him up
What was
here.
the song that Oscar sang
here,
when
buddy.
we were away in the bus?
The Big Yellow.
Was it the toilet roll song?
Oh,
Oh.
my goodness.
Oh, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
All right, Pip
Pip's
is now
at
at
the
the
microphone.
We'll
microphone.
talk about that another
Say
time.
hello, Pip.
Hello, Pip. He's currently beating up the mic.
Can you just get him to bark?
I'm from Wales.
Can you bark? You gonna bark?
I
No.
can't see him right now, but he's sitting behind.
No.
He's sitting behind the microphone.
He
Well,
says nothing.
We'll just have him tap on the microphone to let you know he's here.
Now.
There we go. Right. This is genuinely goodbye from everyone at the Crick House.
All right, goodbye.
Goodbye. See you next time. Thank you so much for listening today. We hope you enjoyed being in the Crick House with us. Did you know that as a family, we are full-time missionaries and we rely on donations from people like you to meet our daily living costs? If you would like to support this podcast and our family by giving a one-time or monthly gift, please visit our website at www.manatheatrecompany.uk/donate. Thank you so much and see you next time.